There's an old saying that says, trust is the easiest thing to lose and the hardest thing to get back. To trust someone is to have faith in them. Completely trusting someone means letting your guard down, whether it be friends, family, or a relationship. You trust their actions, their intentions. At that moment of time, you're at peace. Some people trust fast, while others keep their distance. Because like anything good, there's a negative side to it. People take it for granted. Trusting the wrong person can lead to disappointment. Trust goes hand in hand with love, but sadly, the ones we love are often the ones who betray our trust. The ones we love are often the ones who betray our trust. July 14th, 1988. The world would make way for Alexa Randolph. She would be brought into this world by her father Gregory Randolph and her mother Rochelle Adams. She would be born in Morgantown, West Virginia, a city with a population of just under 30,000 people. Outside of being the home for West Virginia University, Morgantown isn't known for a lot. But for the people who inhabit it, they say it's a great place to raise a family. When Alexa was 4 years old, she would experience her first hardship in life. It would be at this young age that she would lose her mother. On December 7th of 1992, Alexa's mother would be out driving a car that day, and it was cold out. In fact, the roads were frozen over. While driving her car that day, Alexa's mother would hit a patch of black ice, and her car would slide back, and it would go off of a bridge into a deep valley below. Sadly, her mother would lose her life in this accident and leave a 4-year-old child motherless. After this tragedy struck, she would go to live with her grandparents, who she referred to as Mimi and Pawpaw. Now, it wasn't clear where her biological father was at this time. However, she would in fact be raised by her grandparents. And along with moving in with her grandparents, she would have to transition to Fairchance, Pennsylvania. Growing up, she was your normal, average female. She enjoyed doing the girly things, doing hair, dressing up, playing around with makeup. She's described as an outgoing person who had a strong personality. She spoke her mind, however she felt at the time, and didn't think twice about it. She would eventually graduate from Albert Gallatin High School in Pennsylvania. But after graduation, she would return home, back to her roots, in Morgantown, Virginia. This transition would come alongside of attending West Virginia University. She would achieve her education and then move forward with her life. Fast forward a little bit, in the year's 2015, Alexa Randolph is now 27 years old. She's finished school, and now she's moving forward with her life. The year 2015 would be very significant for Alexa, because it would be this year that she would welcome her son Jax into this world. After bringing Jax into this world, the relationship between Alexa and Jax's father didn't work out, though they did maintain a healthy relationship for Jax's sake. In the year of 2018, Alexa would experience another tragic circumstance in her life. It would be this year that her grandmother Mimi would slip and fall, and sadly, this accident would cause her grandmother to lose her life. After Alexa lost her grandmother, she was very devastated. Her and her grandmother were extremely close, and when she passed away, it took a real toll on her. But the heartbreak wasn't over yet, because the following year, she would lose her grandfather. The passing of her grandfather was most likely due to a broken heart. We've all heard the saying that some people just can't survive without the other, and the close relationship that her grandparents had, they most likely long for each other, even in death. After the passing of her grandparents, it put Alexa in a dark place. She began to become a former shell of herself. She started drinking, and eventually one glass turned into one too many. I want to specify that even though she drank, it didn't affect her household. She maintained a job, and she maintained taking care of her son. The drinking was just her way to cope with what she was going through. But by the year of 2021, she had kicked the habit and was sober at the time. Year 2021 was great for Alexa. She was 32 years old. She had even landed a new job as a sales account manager at a national industrial supply company. January 28th, 2021. It was a normal day for Alexa Randolph. She got up, prepared herself for work, and then she dropped her son off at his grandfather's house. This was the grandfather on his dad's side of the family, and they had a great relationship. Jax enjoyed going to his grandfather's house, and this day was no different. He would routinely be dropped off at the grandfather's house. He would stay a little bit, and then his mother would come and pick him back up. When Alexa didn't come pick Jax up, her family immediately grew suspicious, and they would report her missing. They would call the authorities, place a report, and they would begin looking for her. But when the day of January 28th of 2021 concluded, she was nowhere to be found. Knowing that Alexa was a devoted mother, the police didn't waste any time. They would immediately obtain her cell phone records and try to track her location. January 29th, 2021. The cell phone data is retrieved, and they get a hit. Her phone would be pinging at a Walmart in the local area, so the authorities would travel to Hornbeck Road. But when they get there, they don't see any sign of her, only her vehicle, and her phone was inside of it. But the police decided to search the car thoroughly and conduct an investigation. But upon opening the trunk and going to the spare tire area, they discovered her body. The case of missing 32-year-old Alexa Randolph has officially changed into a murder investigation. Because when you find someone in the trunk, that's a clear sign of foul play. The police would analyze the scene and then transport her to the coroner's office, waiting on pending autopsy results.
In other news tonight, a Fayette County native living in Morgantown has been found dead. Alexa Randolph was reported missing Thursday. Police found her car in a parking lot. They found her body in the cargo area Friday. No word on the cause of death tonight. If you have information, contact Morgantown Police.
When the autopsy is concluded, it would ultimately be decided that she died due to a combination of asphyxia and blunt force trauma. After the body of Alexa is discovered in her vehicle, they decide to analyze her cell phone records even more. When Alexa initially disappeared, her last known sighting was around 2:45 p.m. That's when she was seen leaving her apartment on Overdale Street. And after leaving her apartment, that's when she went to drop her son off at his grandfather's home. But after this, no one had seen her. They had already questioned the grandfather about her whereabouts, and he provided his testimony. But after looking at the cell phone records, they decided that this guy had more to tell, because her last known location before the Walmart was in the same area that she dropped her son off at. And if her phone was pinging in this location, 9 times out of 10, she was at the grandfather's home again. But he had already given his testimony that he hadn't seen her since she dropped her son off. With this newfound information, 60-year-old Gary Smith would be transported to headquarters for further questioning. But when he gets to the station, he maintains his story. But this time the police are armed with new evidence. At this point in time, they had retrieved the surveillance footage from the Walmart parking lot. On January 28th of 2021, at approximately 8:50 p.m., her car can be seen on surveillance camera entering the parking lot. But then a male gets out of the car and walks off. This footage is shot at night, and we all know that security camera footage just isn't that great, so it's grainy, and you can't completely make out who it is. But if her last cell phone ping was at her grandfather's home, they have a good idea of who it might be. Their first thought was maybe Alexa had gotten into it with the father of her child, and that was possibly him on the surveillance footage, but that was quickly ruled out. And that now leaves only one other guy it could be, possibly the grandfather, so they continue to question him. In the days after the discovery of the body of Alexa, her grandfather is interviewed several times, and each interview gets a little worse. He eventually begins to implicate himself in the crime, not directly, but through form of information. He begins saying things about her body and the crime scene that only the perpetrator who committed it and the police would know. With Alexa's phone pinging off of his area last, and Gary Smith now giving up too much information, the police have enough to draw up a warrant. The warrant is then approved by the judge, and afterwards, they search 60-year-old Gary Smith's home. And after the search is completed, they find concrete evidence. Inside of Gary Smith's garage, they found what they believe to be a crime scene. His garage looked like a struggle took place, and they also found traces of blood. And after finding this, on February 10th of 2021, 60-year-old Gary Smith would officially be charged with murder. He would be arrested and then taken to jail. But before heading to his cell, they would take a swab of his DNA, and when the results come back in, his DNA was found under Alexa's fingernails. By the time his trial started in October of 2021, he decided to go in and make an Alford plea. Now, if you don't know what an Alford plea is, it isn't admitting guilt, but rather saying that the state has enough evidence to convict him. He decided to enter this Alford plea because he was under the impression that if he entered this plea, he would be eligible for parole after 15 years into his sentence. But when he found out that that's up to the jury and how much mercy they would have on him, he decided to change his mind. He was set to be sentenced in November of 2021, but when he shows up to his sentencing, he says that he was forced to sign the plea deal. He says that he was under a lot of stress, and when he signed the papers, he wasn't in his right mind. Now, although when he signed the paper, it was legal binding, the judge decided to postpone his sentencing. He would postpone it to January of 2022. But January of 2022 has come and gone, and he still hasn't received his sentence. His case is still in limbo. Now, as far as a motive to why he did what he did, because he entered an Alford plea and didn't tell anything about what actually transpired, they don't know. So when it comes to finding out about why this happened, it won't be known unless he decides to tell it, which leaves the family of Alexa in the complete dark.
It's just a tragedy. It's just loss. Like this whole community and a lot of friends. We lost a good person, and it's not fair.
There's an old saying that says, trust is the easiest thing to lose and the hardest thing to get back.
She was charismatic. She was a bright light. She always had something nice to say. She had a huge heart. She was a great mom.
To trust someone is to have faith in them. Completely trusting someone means letting your guard down, whether it be friends, family, or a relationship.
All of us are having a hard time with this. We can't figure it out, but I just know that whoever did it, I hope they pay within the full extent of the law.
Trust goes hand in hand with love, but sadly, the ones we love are often the ones who betray our trust.
She was resilient. She was strong. nothing that was thrown at Alexa she couldn't face. Like she handled things that a lot of people couldn't handle, you know what I mean? And she did it on her own.
For Alexa Randolph to be taken out by someone so close to her is tragic. But I think one of the worst things about this case is just a few days prior to the incident occurring, she actually cried for the grandpa. She had left a post on her Facebook saying that she was dropping Jax off at his grandpa's house. When she was over there, Gary Smith slipped on ice and fell. Upon seeing Gary fall, she had PTSD from when she lost her grandmother. And seeing him almost hurt himself in the same way that she lost her grandmother was very devastating to her. But to think that only a few days after this post was made, he took her life is truly sad. Now, as I stated, a motive isn't known for this case, though I do have a couple of things in mind. My first theory is that maybe he possibly made advances towards her and she pushed him off. But my second theory is way beyond that, but I'm gonna keep that one to myself because I can only think of one other reason why he may have wanted her dead. Maybe she walked in on something that she wasn't supposed to see. But again, that's just me speculating. For Alexa Randolph to overcome so many things that she overcame in life, only to fall to the hands of someone that she loved, it's a heartbreaking story. But even worse, now her son Jax has to grow up without his mother. I truly hope that one day her family and friends receive the answers that they deserve. Rest in peace, Alexa Randolph. Thank you for being a light for others.